So I think I'll start down here on the front behind the ladder, and we'll work on this one first. Right, this guy here. Alright, so I'm just going to try to decide if I want to change the length of it or the width. I think it's pretty good. I might just convert it to editable poly here, and just maybe offset the end just slightly. Just push that one in maybe a bit. We want to have a little bit of a reveal there on the post. As you can see here, it's a little bit short, so that'll probably work on that end. Let's maybe just move these in just a tiny bit. Alright, you can make it thinner or taller if you want to, but I think that's pretty close to what we want, so I'm just going to leave it like that, and let's go into isolation mode. Okay, and we'll just repeat the process on these guys. Alright, so we'll chamfer down the edges. Alright, maybe around 0.35 or so for this one. And let's invert it and do the ends. I'm just going to tighten the ends up a bit. Right, maybe around 0.18. Say okay, and then let's just subdivide it quickly. Alright, let's use maybe 10 on this one. Alright, just because it's fairly long, and we'll say okay, and then we'll drag through the center this way and connect. And we can probably use 2, maybe 3. Let's do 3, just to make sure we have enough. Okay, and then we'll do it this way as well. I'm just going to jump out and actually do this in the front view. Okay, just so it's a little easier for us to select. Alright, so just drag down the center, and we can probably just use one segment this way. Alright, because it's fairly thin. So say okay. Alright, jump into perspective. Okay, just like that, and I'm just going to exit edge and exit isolation mode here. Hit Z, and I think I'll just paint this one with the rest of the model visible. Alright, so let's turn our brush on, take our size down. I'm going to use a fairly small brush on this one, maybe around 8 or so. And we'll keep the amount really, really low. These ones, because they're so thin, it's going to be really noticeable if we totally warp it. So we'll use maybe 0.02 or so, take the push-pull down a little bit as well. Okay, and we'll just quickly rough it up. If you'd prefer to do it in isolation mode, you can. I might do that for the back, so we can see a little easier, but I'm just going to paint this with the rest there. I'm just going to try to make sure I don't make the ends look too similar here. Hit the underneath part there. Okay, let's go into isolation mode, just do the back. And we'll probably reuse these pieces on the back of it, so I'm just going to make sure I hit pretty much the entire surface, just so we have some detail when we flip it over. Let's take this down a little bit over here. And just give it a quick check. Alright, so that's probably even pretty good. Alright, it doesn't have to be totally extreme. I'm just going to take that down a bit, it's a little too flared out, I think. Alright, so that's probably good for this one, so let's turn the brush off, exit isolation mode, just take one last look. Alright, I'm just going to check for inner penetrations as we go along here. Right, that looks pretty good on that end. Let's check this one. It looks pretty good, it's fitting pretty well. Okay, so let's move up and we'll do the top one up here. Okay, so let's just check our reference picture. I'm just going to see if I want to move it anywhere. I might move it up just a little bit. Don't want to go too high because our piece won't fit here. Right, so just like that, maybe I'm just going to maybe also move it over just slightly to the left. Okay, and we'll continue on here in isolation mode. So convert it. Chamfer the edges. Right, maybe around 0.3 and invert. Chamfer again. Alright, maybe 0.2 or so. Okay, and let's add some segments. Alright, I might use let's do maybe 8 on this one, it's a little shorter. That should be enough. Okay, and we'll drag through, connect, do 3. And then we'll do 1 the other way. Alright, so let's go back into the front view. Just drag through, and do 1, and okay. Alright, exit isolation mode, turn off edge. Alright, hit Z to center our piece, and we'll just continue on. And if you want to use a smaller brush, you can. I'm just going to take it down a little bit, maybe. Alright, check the bottom mode. Alright, let's go into isolation mode, do the back. I'm just going to shrink my brush a little bit more. Alright, just going to push this in a little bit. Keep this end kind of flat, maybe. Alright, that's probably good. Let's turn it off, exit isolation mode. Make sure everything looks kind of acceptable. Alright, so that's probably good for this one, so let's just move on to the angled one here. Alright, back in isolation mode, and just chamfer down the edges again. Alright, I'm going to go around 0.25 on this one. I'll say OK, and invert it. Change the ends, just going to tighten these up just a bit. Alright, I'm going to do maybe around 0.13 or 1.5 or so. We'll say OK. Okay, and let's subdivide it. Alright, let's just do 8 again, just to make sure we have enough. And say OK. Alright, and let's grab these top edges here, drag them through. Hold control, drag to the bottom, and then we'll do a ring. Okay, just want to make sure it goes all the way around. Alright, and connect again, and we can probably just use 2 or 3 here. Alright, maybe I'll do 2 on this one and say okay. Alright, and I'm going to try to add 1 the other way as well, so let's jump out, and I'm going to do it in the top view. Alright, so I'm going to carefully drag just down the center. Okay. Looks like it should be about 28, and we'll just do 1 segment and hit OK. Alright, just make sure it goes all the way around. Alright, looks good, so let's turn off edge, exit isolation mode, and just warp it quickly. So we got a bit of a gap here, and it's okay if we have a slight one. We can always move it around. I'm just going to bloat that up a little bit, maybe. And shrink the brush down a little more. And hit the underneath part. All right, let's do the end here. Pull that out maybe a little bit. Let's check out the other end. Alright, I'm going to go around to the inside. quickly hit it. And I don't want to overdo it on these thinner pieces because it's going to start to look kind of wonky if it's really, really bulgy. So, and let's go in isolation mode so we can actually see. Might help. Just at the end, maybe a little bit. Okay, so fairly subtle on this piece, but I think that's all we need to do. So let's turn off the brush and just check it out. Alright, so let's make sure it's actually fitting on here. Alright, I'm going to move it up just slightly. Alright, just so we can kind of see a bit of the chamfer here. Alright, and there's a bit of a gap up here at the top, but that's okay, it's touching right here, so it's going to look right. A little awkward, I might just push it in just a tiny bit. It doesn't have to be, right up against the post. You could put it like that if you want to, or you can move it out. I might just leave it out just a little bit. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad for those guys, so we can probably reuse them on the back, or maybe one or two of them. Alright, so let's do a save first, just in case we have a crash. So before we copy them, I might just start making some slight rotations and tweaks here. So let's grab this guy at the top here. I'm just going to go to rotate, turn off the angle snaps, and I'm just going to slightly rotate it down just a little bit. Alright, it doesn't have to be a lot. And let's move it back down so it's touching our cross piece here at the top. Okay, and the bottom one, we could leave it straight. I might just give it a little bit of rotation as well. Alright, just up. Alright, move it into place so it's fitting a little better here. That looks good. Alright, check the top out. Alright, that's probably fine. Okay, so yeah, we can probably use maybe one or two of these on the back. I think I'll reuse the diagonal one here, so I'm going to select that and just shift drag a copy to the back on the X. That's it, okay. Let's center the pivot on this. So let's go into the hierarchy tab, just hit effect pivot only, center object, and then hit it again to turn it off. Okay, and we'll do the same with this one just to make sure they're centered. And then we'll just grab this and align it to this one. Alright, and we want to have it in the opposite direction obviously, so I'm going to do X, Y, Z here, and under align orientation I'm going to tick on X. Alright, just flip it around so it's in the right spot, and we'll say OK. Alright, let's actually get the other one out of there. Delete it. Okay, and you can see it's not fitting here, but that's okay. We can move it over if we want to. Just trying to decide if I want to change the length on this one up here. Alright, I might do that manually. I think I'll reuse the bottom though to save some time. Alright, so I'll select the bottom one on the front, shift drag it to the back. Say OK, and then same deal here. I'm just going to make sure the pivot points are centered. Alright, you don't have to use the align tool every time. You could just shove it in place. Alright, so we'll just align it. We can untick this and just do X, Y, Z and OK. Alright, I'm going to flip it over, I think. So let's turn on the angle snaps and rotate and just spin it, maybe 180. Alright, let's actually undo that. We're already going to be looking at the opposite side of it, so we don't need to really rotate it that way. I might spin it this way though. Alright, 180. And let's get the other one out of there. Alright, delete it. Alright, I might just straighten this one out so it's not angled like the front. Alright, let's turn the angle snaps off when we do it. Okay, and for the top up here, let's just convert that one to editable poly. Alright, make this one just a little bit longer. Alright, a little closer to the outside of the post. Don't worry about it not lining up here, we'll fix that in a second. I'm just going to check the front out. Alright, so maybe I'll shorten up this end a little bit as well. Okay, and let's just grab our center piece there and just slide it over a bit. I want it kind of centered so it's about even from the end of each of the boards. just going to check it out and make sure it's sitting properly, which you can see it's not. So let's grab this one, and I'm going to grab the top one up there as well, and move them both together, just down slightly until it touches. Okay, and then we'll grab the top one here and just go into isolation mode. And you could make, some of these wider if you wanted to, or taller, which I might do actually. May as well change it up a little more. Alright, so let's exit isolation mode for a sec. Alright, go back to vertex, and I'm just going to grab the top 4 verts and just pull them down so it's a little thinner than the front one. Okay. And I'm also going to grab them on the front here. Or you could grab the face if you want to. And just thin it up, alright, just to change it up a little more. Alright, you don't want to go too thin though, because then the piece isn't going to line up here. So just maybe like that. Alright, so that's cool. Let's go into isolation mode now. And we'll just continue on. Alright, so chamfer again. Alright, leave this one maybe a little more rounded over than the others. So I'll do maybe 0.36, and OK. Control I, chamfer again, and let's just take that down a bit. Alright, maybe around 0.2 again, and then let's subdivide it. Alright, so maybe I'll do 8, that's probably fine, and OK, and then we'll drag through, connect, and we'll do 2 or 3 here. Alright, I might use 2 on this one, and say OK, and then we'll add 1 lengthwise as well, so let's jump out into the top view. Alright, and just carefully drag down the center. Alright, 28 edges again, and connect, and we'll do 1, and OK. Alright, so let's turn off edge, exit isolation mode. Alright, just trying to decide if I want to rotate this one. I kept the bottom straight, so maybe I will rotate it just so it doesn't look so even. Okay, so I'm just going to go up a tiny bit. Just move it up into place again so it's sitting on top of the beam, or the board there. Okay, and then we'll just turn our brush on and paint it. Let's check out the bottom down here. Just flatten that off a little bit more. Alright, let's go around to the inside. Alright, let's lower the brush size too. Alright, isolation mode, Alt Q. Just gonna take a look here. Alright, that's probably fine. So let's exit isolation mode, turn the brush off, and just take a look here quickly. Just check for interpenetrations. Again, if it's only slight, you're not really going to notice that, but I might just pull this out a little bit. Right, check this side. Check the bottom. Right, maybe move this up just a tiny bit. Okay, so that's not too bad. I think that's good enough. Again, feel free to take more time if you want to. But I think we'll move on a bit. Let's just do a save. So I think we'll move on and start doing these ones on the side here. I'm just going to make one quick tweak before we do that though. Alright, you can see that I have the top, front and back boards here on pretty much exactly the same angle. You can see it in the left view. Alright, they're pretty much the same, so I think I might just tweak that quickly before we move on, just so they don't look like we cloned it. Okay, so I'm going to go into the back here, select the top one, and just maybe change the angle slightly. Okay, so I'm going to just rotate it the opposite direction. Just down on the right end instead of the left, okay, and then I'm just going to move it down so it touches our board again. Alright, just like that. Alright, I think that's better. And we can always go, over it after we get everything else done and tweak anything that we still want to. But for now, we'll move on and we'll start working on the ones on the side here. Alright, so let's grab that bottom one on the right, and I'm just going to see if I want to make it longer or shorter. Right, I might actually just slide it towards the front a little bit on the X. Alright, just make it stick out a little more than this one. And the width and the height, you can change it if you want to. I think I might just leave that as is, and we'll just subdivide it and chamfer it. So let's go into isolation mode, convert it to poly. Alright, back to edge, grab our edges, and chamfer them. Alright, let's tighten this up a bit. Gonna go around maybe 0.3 or so on those, invert it, and just do the ends here quickly. Alright, let's take that down a little bit, maybe around 0.2, should be fine, and then we'll subdivide quickly. Alright, so 8 will probably be enough here, so I'll say that's cool, and then let's jump out into the left view here, and just select the edges this way, alright, so it's a little easier. And we'll just use 2 because it's pretty thin. Okay, and we'll go down the center and just add 1 again. Alright. Zoom out here. Okay, let's turn off edge, exit isolation mode, and I think I'll just paint this one with the rest of the model there. Okay, so let's open up our paint deformation, turn the brush on. Alright, take our size down. I'm going to go maybe around 5 for the brush size on this one. And we'll take the mount way down again to like 0.02 and the push pull down to around 5. Alright, we'll just quickly rough this up. Alright, let's go up a little more intense. Get up underneath here. I'm just going to take the brush down a little more and just hit the end of it. Alright, let's hit the inside. Let's actually do that in isolation mode, it's probably easier. Alright, just hit the back there. And we'll try to reuse these ones too if we can, so give it some detail on the other sides. I'm just going to lower this again. It's a little too bumpy looking, I think, so I'm just going to try to smooth some of it out. And you can always use the relax brush if you want to. Alright, but that's probably fine for this piece, so let's just turn the brush off and check it out. Alright, so just to save some more time, I might reuse this over on the other side there, so I'm just going to clone it over right now. Alright, so we'll hold shift, drag on the Y to the other side, and just do a copy. Okay, we'll just leave that there for now. Let's move up and start working on the top one up here. Alright, so I'm going to convert that to poly as well. Alright, I might just pull the ends in. Alright, so it's a little shorter on the back. Alright, just pull these out maybe slightly as well. Okay, and we'll just continue on here. So isolation mode again, chamfer our edges. And we'll go maybe 0.35 or so, and then do the ends. Right, maybe around 0.2 or so for those, and connect. And we can do 7 or 8 here probably. Alright, 8 should be fine. Let's say OK, and then let's jump back out into the left view. Just hit Z, and then drag through left to right. Add 2, top to bottom, and add 1. Alright, exit isolation mode, turn off edge, jump back to perspective, and we'll just paint it quickly. Let's hit this in a bit. Right, isolation mode again, Alt Q, and we'll just do the inside. Right, Just going to lower the brush size even more. Alright, just make sure we get the bottom somewhat. Okay, so let's get out of here and just take a look. Okay, so that's cool. So we can either reuse it on the other side. I might actually just do this one manually so I can change the length of it a little easier, but we'll move on and do this one next, the angled one. Okay, so same thing, convert it to poly. And I think the length looked good on this, so I'm just going to leave it, but you can make it longer or shorter if you want to. Alright, so we'll go down to maybe around 0.2, a little higher maybe. Invert. I'm just going to leave the amount the same on the ends as the sides for this one. Drag through, and we'll just add maybe 8 again. Or let's do maybe 10, just so we have some more resolution. Okay, and then we'll jump out, and I'm going to try to select the edges here in the front view. So I'm just going to grab the end ones, hold Control, grab those end ones, and then we'll do a ring. Okay, so 28 again, and connect, and we can probably use 2 or 3 here. Right, maybe I'll do 2. Say OK. Alright, and we'll go into the left view. It's going to be a little tricky to select, so I'm just going to carefully drag through the center ones on the end. Alright, and we'll go down to the bottom and grab these ones. And then we'll do the ring. Alright, the reason I'm not just ringing it just by selecting one edge is because it won't go all the way around the ends. Okay. Alright, so just make sure it goes all the way around. Looks good, and then we'll just connect and add one segment. Alright, exit edge, exit isolation mode, start paint. Take that down a bit. Alright, I'm just going to lower the brush size a little bit more. The intensity down maybe to 0.02. Alright, isolation mode will do the inside. Alright, just lower this down on the size a bit. And if you prefer doing it all with a small brush, you can, or a big one, doesn't matter. Whatever you like. Alright, we'll hit that, hit the end a bit. Alright, just make sure we don't have any major bulges. Alright, it's not too bad, so I'll say that's good for this one, so let's take a look at it. Alright, if you want to slide it up and down, you can just change your mode to local here, and I'll let you actually push it up and down on this angle. Okay, if you want to have it sticking out more on one end or the other. I'm just going to kind of center it, I think, for this one. Okay, and we can reuse that over there too, unless you want to make yours longer or shorter, but I think we'll just do it the same on this one. So let's change our mode back to view. Alright, shift drag a copy over there on the Y and say OK, and then let's spin around here. Alright, so let's just make sure our pivot points are centered. So I'm going to do that on this one first. So hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, center object, and then turn it off. And then we'll do the same thing with the blanked in one there. Alright, and just use the align tool. Okay, and again we'll do X, Y, Z, both pivot points, and then we're going to tick on X, Y, and Z here so it lines up properly, and then we'll say OK. Alright, so let's get rid of the other one that's in there still. Alright, there it is, delete. Alright, let's grab this one, and same thing, I'm just going to center the pivots on this end. I think I'll use this one on the top on this side because it was our bottom one on that side, so just to change it up a little more. Alright, so let's center the pivot on that blocked in one, and just align it with the align tool. And say OK. Alright, get rid of our blank one. Okay, so just going to see if I want to move it around a bit. I might just slide stuff around a bit just to change it up. So let's grab this one. I'm just going to change my mode to local. Right, might pull this one down a little bit on this side so it's a little closer to the front. Alright, this one up here, I'm just going to move it maybe back a bit. Okay, and let's go back to the other side here while we're at it, and I might just rotate these slightly, at least one of them. Okay, so we'll grab the top one on the right side, change our mode to local here as well, and just slightly angle it. Okay, just a tiny bit, and you can do that with the bottom one here as well if you want to. Alright, maybe not that much. And it doesn't have to be, a lot. Alright, so just so they're not perfectly straight, and then we'll go back to the left side here. Alright, this one I might leave straight, and I think I'll leave this one as is, and let's just detail the bottom one quickly. Alright, you might want to vary the height on a few of these, and I haven't really been doing that, so I'm just going to do that quickly here on this bottom one. Okay, so we'll convert it to poly. Alright, and I'm just going to grab the top polygon there. Alright, and with move here, I'm just going to change the mode to local, okay, and just pull that top polygon up a bit to make this a little thicker. Alright, just so they don't match, all four of them. Alright, you can do that on the others if you wanted to, but I think I'll leave it like that. And I think the length looks good as well. Okay, so we'll just leave it, and now we'll go into isolation mode and chamfer it down. Alright, 0.3 or so. Take this up a little bit, maybe around 0.2, and then we'll just add our segments again. Alright, let's do 8. Say OK, go back out. Jump into the left view, just hit Z, and then we'll drag through the sides. Do 2, drag top to bottom, and just do 1 again. Alright, you can change the amounts up, as I mentioned earlier. You don't have to follow it exactly. Alright, so let's exit isolation mode again, and we'll just paint this last one here. Alright, I'm just going to keep an eye on my other pieces there too. So the end's kind of bloated up here, so I'm not going to do that down here. And when we get it all pretty much detailed out, we can always take one last look, kind of do another pass if we need to. If anything's looking too, repetitive, or we see stuff we don't like, we can always change it up at the end. Alright, let's do the back again. Alright, that's probably fine, so we'll take a look. Alright, and these are still perfectly straight, so I might just angle the bottom one a little bit. And again, I'm on local here. Alright, let's check out the other one back there. Alright, so it's angled down towards the front, so I might do this one opposite. And just move the front up a little bit. Alright, like that. And let's grab this one here, and I'm just going to move this. Alright, still on local here, and I'm just going to push this one back so it's a little more even. Okay, so we're getting there. We only have a few pieces left, and then we'll have to do our deck boards, but that won't take too long. Alright, so let's just do a save here to be safe, and we'll move on.